Well, hello, Facebook family and friends. This is Dr. Leon McCray with Lighthouse Marketplace. I haven't talked to you guys in a while, and I got to do a little bit better than that. But I'm here. I want to talk to you today about real estate. No surprise there. But on a side note, I want to talk to you about real estate, but I really want to talk to you about ways to create money in real estate. You know, you heard the term, well, it would be nice if we had the ability to print money, but in real estate, you really have the ability at times to create money. And I want to break that down. I really want to give you some how to's, and I want to give you um, at least 4 examples of how to create money in real estate almost from nothing. It's like others can't see it, but you can see it. And because, well, I believe God gives you some insight and some wisdom and a creative idea, you can create money from nothing. Who wants to go there with me as we break this down? Again, this is Dr. Leon McCray with Lighthouse Marketplace. And I again welcome those that are looking and viewing from YouTube and those that are with Facebook and any other venue. Let's get started. First, I want to talk to you about being able to subdivide. And these are all things and examples of things that I've done. You know, sometimes you're able to buy a property. And I remember when I was buying raw unimproved land. And this particular property was a 9.4 acre building lot. Unimproved, had not been perked. What does that mean? That means that a lot of times you can go to the health department and you can get them to certify that a land will perk. In other words, you're able to build on it. You're able to get a certain number of bathrooms perk. That's kind of governs the amount of water that the property can take on, because a property that cannot perk or will not perk, you can't build on that property. A lot of you city folks, you only deal with properties that have city water and city sewer, but in the country and more rural areas, there are properties that are not connected to town utilities that you have to have a well, or you have to have some type of system, septic system, if you will, in order for you to build. And sometimes they give you a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, or a 4-bedroom perk, and you're able to build a 4-bedroom house or 3-bedroom house, depending on what it perks for. Well, this particular property was a 9.4 acre property that I was able to purchase. And when I looked at the property, I knew that I would be able to purchase it and probably get 2 building lots and not just 1 building lot. And so what I did, I made it a part of the contract that I'm able to subdivide this property. And then I did all the legwork, as well as the engineering and the expenses necessary, not only to get it subdivided, but to get it perked. And so I split it in half. I had a 5-acre lot, and I also had a 4.5-acre lot, something like that. Okay. And I got it perked, both of them perked for 3-bedroom building lots. All right, so now I'm able to close on that property, knowing now that I can have 2 sellable building lots. Okay, so now what I purchased for, and I believe at the time it was $145,000. And after I got it subdivided into 2 lots, I was able to sell the bigger lot, the 5-acre lot. I was able to sell it for what I paid for the entire 9.4 about 9.5 acre lot. What does that mean for me? In other words, I sold the 5 acre lot for $145,000, which was the price that I paid for the entire project. And so now I own the 4 acre lot right next to it that has a perk separate that I can build on it or sell later on. I own it free and clear. So I made that or created that from nothing. That's a strategy. That's a strategy that is alive and well even to this day. Let's talk to you about another strategy. Subdividing properties. You know, sometimes we have to expand our vision and be able to see value add. I think the last time I did a video, I talked about doing a value add to properties that we have. Well, this other property, I want to talk to you about subdivision. I bought a commercial property. And at the time that I bought it, this particular property was right in town, and it had 2 buildings on the property. And when I wrote the contract, I had no idea what I was going to do with it. But at the time, I was experimenting with some of the things that I've read about, buying property with no money down, getting money back at closing, and all those kind of things. And all of those things are possible. However, they're harder now than they used to be. Okay. However, at this particular point in time, I looked at the property and I wrote a contract. And the contract that I wrote, I made it contingent on me splitting the property in 2 pieces. One property would govern the small building that was on the property in a much small, like a postage stamp size lot. And the bigger property, it was on its own lot. So 2 lots. And so the owner of the property agreed to the contract terms, and then I did my legwork and I went down to the county, the building department, as well as zoning, to make sure that I could get this approved. Long story short, prior to closing on the property, I got the approval to have 2 separate lots. Okay. And unbeknownst to me, it just kind of happened. The Lord will give you things sometimes that you don't really ask for, and you kind of stumble on it. Why? Because he allows you to see some things that you otherwise were unable to see. Okay. And so I was just thinking that I would buy this and then figure it out later. But sometimes God has a plan for you, and he'll do something supernatural, in other words. And so, long story short, I did this. The smaller property was, at the time, being used as a little, it was like a thrift store. Okay, I looked at it, and, well, I didn't want to do thrift store, all right? So, I looked at it and I knew my wife wanted to start a business, so we made it into a boutique. Okay, and we did that for a little while. But when you're in a new area, people don't know you, and you're competing with Walmart and places like that, and people used to buying Walmart and the nice clothes that they're selling in the boutique. They come in and look at it and tell you how nice it is, but then they leave the store without buying anything. Well, we were dealing with that. Long story short, we had to close down the boutique, and we made it into a rental house. Well, actually, at the time, we had a small church that wanted to rent it. They actually wanted to live there and also have church there. That works out, all right? So we were able to rent that particular building. And on the bigger property, I wanted to turn that into an apartment building. At the time that I bought it, it was a warehouse downstairs, and they had upstairs a very small one-bedroom apartment, and that was the only thing on this building, okay? And so my plan was to turn that one bedroom and warehouse into a 6-unit apartment building, meaning I had to add 2 additional apartments on the second floor and then turn the warehouse portion of the building that was the entire downstairs into 3 additional apartments, okay? And so that was my game plan. But in the midst of that, to get some additional income, I put the smaller property that was being rented as a small church and a home, I put it on the market. What happened? Almost immediately, because it was right next door to a restaurant, the restaurant wanted this particular property, and because the restaurant had parking issues, all right, and they wanted to expand their parking. And they figured that this was a good opportunity to knock the building down and expand their parking. Well, one of the things that I looked at, I said, wait a minute now. I thought to myself, this property is producing $1,300 a month in income, and they're going to tear it down. And so let me put in the contract for purchase. He's talking about vision, being able to see down the road. Let me put in this contract that I want the option, know that word, I want the option to be able to do the tear down myself or the demo and remove all the demolition. In other words, it was an older building, but I a lot of times I use, because I have my own warehouse, I use materials from one project and put them in another project, okay? And in this area, people like reclaimed wood. It had a deck on it and all these different things. And I figured that I could use a lot of this material on another project. So one of the things that I put in the contract was the option that, within a year, I wanted to tear the property down because they wanted to remove it anyway. So I put in the option to tear the property down, take what I wanted, and then I would clear the property so they wouldn't have to do it. And they signed that option. But in the back of my mind, I thought, I don't really think that this is going to happen. I really don't think that they're going to tear this down. So I gave myself that option. Long story short, what happened, I believe that they had financed this property. Well, guess what? When you finance a property, the bank really is not very excited about you tearing down part of the structures that are on the property, because I think they believe that their position in the property is being lessened. And so I think that, and I don't know this for sure, but I think the bank had some issues with them tearing down this property. And so when it came close to the end of the year, I served notice to the current current owner, that I was ready to exercise my option. And when I was ready to exercise my option, because I want to use those materials, the then owner said, "No, we don't want you to tear the building down." Well, wait a minute now. I have a contract as part of the things that I want to do, that's what I need to do. And I have an option to do it. And it said I gave them a date is when I was going to do the demo. And they wrote me a letter and basically saying that I could not do it, I could not remove it. And what happened, I have a legal right, contractual right, to be able to exercise that option. And so the way it ended up, they had to pay for, I kind of added up, I said it's probably $10,000, $10,000 to $20,000 worth of material. I will accept $10,000 and release you from this option. And that's what finally happened. So out of nothing, $10,000 in additional income was created, in addition to selling the property off, that one section of the property, for the same money that I bought the entire project for. Awesome. But how many know that you have to be thinking like that? And sometimes it takes being exposed to those kind of ideas. One of the things I've told you before that I do, the Bible says that, God says this, that if you acknowledge Him, He'll direct your path. And so I try to always acknowledge God, knowing and asking Him to direct my path, even when I go into contract negotiations, when I write a contract, when I'm trying to do the things that I do. Why? Because He can see further down the road than I can. I didn't know how this was going to shake out, but on the surface, it looked like a win-win. Okay, if He was going to tear down the property anyway. But even today, that property is not tore down. It's still sitting there. Enough said. All right, I want to talk to you about something else. This is number 3. Mobile home. I had a couple building lots that I owned, and I was having trouble selling them. And I couldn't get the kind of price that I thought was a very inexpensive price, but I couldn't get them sold for the price that I wanted to sell them for. And at the time, I didn't know what to do about those properties. I didn't have the money to build on the property, to build new homes on the property, and they were not selling. And so when you have a property like that that's not selling, it's not an asset to you. Even though it's real property, it's not a real asset to you. Why? Because the asset puts money in your pocket, and a liability takes money out of your pocket. And so this property to me was a liability because every year, tax-wise, it was taking money out of my pocket. All right. And so I had to make a decision what to do about this property. And the thought came to me, I believe via the Holy Spirit, came to me that why don't you put a mobile home on the property? It would be a lot cheaper than trying to build a home, and you may be able to do that. And not just a mobile home, a used mobile home. I said, wow, okay, all right. And so I set out to do that with the little funds that I had. I was able to find a used mobile home, and I purchased that mobile home. I don't know. I think it was $13,000 at the time, and I put that mobile home on this particular lot. It was like a half-acre lot, mountain views, very nice lot. I had already connected. I was able to connect it to town water, but it had a septic system, so I had to install a new septic system. So I had to pay for that and bring the electric to it and so forth. Okay. And so I found this used trailer or mobile home that I had to pay to have moved to this location. Once I moved it, I got everything hooked up, and I had rehabbed it to make sure that, everything was straight, everything was right. I updated it and made it look really nice. And after doing all of my updates, I put it on the market. And at the time, I think it was $800. I think it was $800 a month. Created from nothing. It was nothing there. Just a month or two earlier, just raw land, buying a used trailer at deeply discounted prices, putting it on the lot, rehabbing it, connecting it to town water, and putting a septic system on it. And now I'm renting it $800 a month. That was a few years back, and now I think it's at $900 a month. Created that monthly cash flow from almost nothing. Just created it. Printing money. And every month, boom, 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 boom. Do you have any lots, building lots, that the Lord could give you an idea and that you can create cash flow? Something that you had not thought of? You ever thought of a used trailer? I didn't. But the thought came. Why don't you try this? I did the same thing because I had 2 building lots. This was a single wide trailer, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And then on the second lot, and I wish I had done it on the first lot, I found a used trailer, but this one's a double wide. And I did the same thing. The same exact thing. And now it's renting for $1,100 a month. Created from nothing. Wow. God is. God is. I'm just excited. And so lastly, number 4, I want to talk about another strategy. Well, actually, let me just stop here. I think my one of my partners told me, your videos are going on too long. But I just wanted to give you some strategies of how to create money, how to create resources, using the things that you learn, the things that you read. You might not be able to use this information right now, but keep it in your repertoire. Keep it in your toolbox, because eventually something will happen and you'll remember something I said and you say, bam, I can use this strategy to do what that handsome brother said. Again, this is Dr. Leon K. McCray from Lighthouse Marketplace. And I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope it's been informative for you. My goal is to shift the way you think. This is our 40 acres and a mule. Let's do this thing. Let's get it done. And open your mind and ask God to allow you to see that which He wants you to see and that which others cannot see. And hear His voice and execute and move out smartly with the things that He tells you to do. Love you and appreciate you. Again, Dr. Leon K. McCray with Lighthouse Marketplace signing out. Thank you so much.